Welcome to Here's How We Get There. It's the daily show filled with conversations about business and mental health in a down-to-earth style with real-world language. Now let's dive in with your co-hosts, Kenneth Shark Kinney and Trey Tucker.
Trey, so how do you go about in today's world not worrying about cancel culture?
I mean, first of all, good luck with never worrying about it. But
I'm going to cancel you for saying that. No, keep it.
So, I mean, if you think about it, one of the quickest ways to tear down community is to leave no space for people to grow. And in order for somebody to grow, they've got to mess up, and we've got to leave some space for them to fix it once they've messed up. So obviously there's a line at some point where if they keep messing up, then there have to be some consequences. But goodness gracious, if we really do from the heart have a posture towards somebody else where we care about them and we want the best for them, we're not going to be perfect toward them. And in the midst of those mistakes, they've got to know our heart, because that's really where it comes from. It comes within. If you think about a marriage, between the mistakes and the disagreements, all the conflict that comes within a marriage, and you still stay in relationship with each other, that's how we as a culture have got to get or allow for our faults and our flaws and our mistakes, because again, we got to have the community that allows for that growth. How about you?
Well, my wife does cancel me every day, but I beg for forgiveness and come back. But I think one of the things that I run into all the time working with businesses is not to get too caught up in the social media aspect of cancel culture. Again, I think we're starting to see a little bit of the shift of tides, but when we hear authenticity all the time and about how important that is to stand up for your beliefs and all that stuff, the same goes for a lot of people who are worried about getting canceled. Unless you're actually able to show where this translated into real sales drop for businesses, that's when you have to start looking at whether or not it's a news story on Twitter or is it something that's affecting your bottom line. That doesn't mean ignore it just because you always think you're right. It could be that you're wrong as well. And how you deliver that sorry message or ask for forgiveness and so on and so forth to change it can be important. But I think so often companies haven't developed a thick enough skin, because it's almost like thinking about sharks going into the water. Unless you have a thick enough skin, unless you're brave enough to deal with it, cancel culture, the idea of cancel culture alone will tear you down, let alone whether or not you can weather the storm. So when you come across it in social media, I mean, you got a lot of fans that follow you on TikTok. Are you worried about every other thing you say shutting you down?
I mean, the thought comes into my head, but I just have to remember I'm trying to be real, and I'm trying to show them my heart, who I am. And I also remind myself, generally speaking, people are a whole lot more forgiving than we might think. And if they just see us being real, if they see us being contrite and repentant, then it's amazing how much somebody can be forgiven for. So yeah, when I'm making a video or what have you, if I know I've made a mistake, I'm throwing myself at their mercy, saying, hey, you know me, I'm trying to be as open as I can, and I made a mistake and I apologize. And so often that authenticity, I mean, we all know we have plenty of flaws, and when you see somebody else admitting theirs, people want to reciprocate and do the same towards you.
Well, it is real, and it's not anything to just flippantly ignore. However, the more people really think about what the problem is that caused the cancellation and deal with that, you may not have to fix anything, but it's much more important to focus on that than focus on the idea of being canceled, which so many people just sit in fear of.
Right.
All right. Well, as long as we're not canceled, I'll see you on the next show.
Hope so.
Thank you for joining Shark and Trey on the Here's How We Get There show. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show, and visit here'showwegetthere.com. That's here'showwegetthere.com.